Well, a very, very happy Wednesday, and welcome to the TNC Sports Talk. My name is Justin. Today is November 12th of 2025. And on today's episode, we are going to talk a little bit about Major League Baseball. Offseason is underway. Managers meetings coming up here on November 18th through the 20th. Owners meetings that are scheduled. Um, And so we're getting our glimpse of what off season is looking like, and coming with those as a general concept. There are a handful of questions that I think are warranted to be asked this off season. So I got a list of 10 questions from Major League Baseball to be asking all around the league. Let's dive right into it here on this episode. Coming in at number 10, we have to ask that I think this is going to be a question for hindsight purposes, but will there be any additional signs of looming labor strifes? The off season and MLB has been threatened, and we've even seen been postponed uh, to a shutdown and lockout because of owners and Rob Medford and the MLB Players Associations do not get along. And this is one that I don't like. I've seen it affect teams. I've seen it affect players. It affects fans when the team or when the season gets off to a delayed start. I don't like it. There's kind of already spikes for next off season. We can be seeing um, a kind of a lockout um, for a collective bargaining agreement. I hope that the goal is that Rob Manfred gets on top of it, prevents all of this. We get a season go. We keep the year going, uh, and we don't put any delays into what we love to watch come springtime every year. Um, so hopefully things kind of get we're I think you look into conversations this year. I think we'll get more into depth, uh, but we kind of look a little bit more under um we're going to look under the who's a part of the players association salary caps. For the past several months have been conversations. So there's a lot, and I think as they unfold, we'll definitely tap in our share experience and options and opinions for that matter. But that is always, I think, a conversation every off season. When is the next lockdown? And how do we get to preventing? Because the last thing we want to do is be on a government, just like a government shutdown and start a delay everything. I think it's horrible. All right, coming in at number 9, I have a big question here: is what are the Pirates going to do with Paul Skeens? Obviously, look, Paul Skeens had one of the most memorable years as a ball player this past season. Really made a name for himself. Although this Pirates kind of were non-existent inside, you know, not inside any postseason competition. Uh, it's a non-stolen, story that will not die. Skeens is excellent, and he is cheap, and that's what's going to linger this question. He's kind of a player that the Pirates do cherish, but at some point, it will become he's going to demand money that he deserves. Owner Bob Nutting is utterly useless in this category. And he's not even arbitration eligible yet, which makes really no sense in this in why we're even bringing this up. But if we've seen things in the past coming from the Pirates organization, is that they will unload their roster when they feel the time is right. Key Brian Hayes left to the Reds earlier this towards the trade deadline. They think that there was a few players on the radar that could be moved this off season, and this is one of the few teams that I would consider that will unload their roster and get rid of talented players. They're not there to win; they're there to make money, and I categorize them as that team along with like the Marlins, and there's a few others. Coming in at number 8, will the Twins tear down even more? Man, um, it was no surprise that they were unloading their roster, and it seems like they could be in the direction to even do more. Uh, they might pedal their way to the stop. We're looking at top 2 starting pitchers. It could be on the chopping block here. Joe Ryan, Pablo Lopez. It's all trying to find, where they're valued, trading them at the right moment. If that's the case, Ryan Jeffers as a catcher was another possibility. Outfielder Byron Buxton. He says he wants to spend his entire career with the Twins, but will the Twins allow it? Or will he even change his mind after seeing how the Twins respond to this to this teardown if that continues? Number 7. What is Chime Bloom's plans for the Cardinals? For the first time in about 18 years, John Mozeliak will not be guiding the Cardinals through the offseason. Stepped down from the big chair after the past season, and now Shyam, if I'm saying that name correctly, takes over, inheriting the team going through what they would consider and qualifies as a drought in franchise standards. Now the question is the trades and the veterans. Is this a breakdown and start it from scratch again, which will mean we throw out guys like Nolan Arenado and Sonny Graves, given that they don't waive their no trade clause. It could be an opportunity for them if the market's right, if the team is convincing enough, they could be traded to have a chance to win if this team looks to continue to dig themselves deeper into this kind of rebuilding situation. Bloom could also shop Brendan Donovan, probably the most valuable potential trade of the piece from the Cardinals organization. Bloom sees Donovan as part of the next contending Cardinals team. Or is it a next generation that's currently down in the farm system? Depending on how the Cardinals respond this offseason in the trade market and in the free agent market, will soon tell us the story of what the new front office of St. Louis thinks and what their position holds. Coming in at number 6, will the Tigers trade Tarik Skubal? He's possibly coming in as the second straight Cy Young winner. We'll probably learn later this week. They made it to game 5 last year, which I feel like, I know for me, I was impressed to see the Tigers make it to the postseason and have, success last season. They made it to game 5 in the ALDS in each of the last 2 seasons, which for me comes to the shocking. But the question is what do they do with a potential of Tarik Skubal? Are they still contenders, even if it means letting Skubal walk at the end of 2026 with nothing more than the compensatory draft picks? Is it worth it just to move, to improve Detroit, which he would be a value to the market? Lead executive Scott Harris does decide to deal Skubal before he walks year before his walk year begins, then it's doubtful that there's a friend's bidding. I feel like teams have more options to in the off season. I've kind of I've been portraying this pattern, and I think off season lingers around what can be said and done with free agents as we start learning about who's opting out of their contracts, who's going to stay with the team, who is, available, who's not available. Let's face it, this offseason, there's not a big free agent market. Detroit, and then you come to the trade deadline in July, and it depends where you're at as a team and what team is looking forward to. So you have them until the end of next season, and you have two options. Option one, you could find a team that needs pitching now, which I don't think you're going to give up a whole lot for at this moment. He's not a player that, he still has a year left before he could walk. So he could either be with the Tigers organization for the complete year. Tigers don't get nothing out of it. Possibly push and say, hey, we're all in. We're going to try to win this. Let's get back to the postseason and let's use him as our ace pitcher. You can try to put him up at the trade deadline, depending where you're at, and try to get some sort of value. But usually the value isn't as great because teams are contending. Or you try to make an offer, and I think if you make an offer this offseason, you're going to get, you'd get probably some draft picks out of it. So it really just, it's a caution. It's be prepared where you're going to walk down this. Listen, Tigers have seen success. We want the success to continue. And Tarek Skubal is one of those success as a Cy Young winner. There's a big question there. Coming in at number 5, will Kyle Tucker signed? And with who? He is he's the most worthy number 1 free agent out there as of today. Despite his injuries that cost him at the plate, he still managed to put up a solid OPS at 143 and a WAR of 4.6 in 136 games. Which I still think that's very impressive. His outfield and base running skills is undeniable. He's one of the most complete players in the game, and he's just 28 years old. The market reads that a contract's out there for about $400 million, and I don't think he'd, ask for anything less. You talk about teams that are capable of producing that much. I know the first team that comes to the conversation is the Los Angeles Dodgers. The Yankees and Phillies are in that mix as well. The Giants and probably the Cubs. I feel like Kyle Tucker is going to be this big newsbreaker of the year, and it's going to lurk. And I don't think other deals are going to fall into place, especially with these top teams, unless this deal gets done. I want to go back to that School Bowl conversation for a moment. We talk about maybe teams that are interested, that we could see a deal with a package to be made. Teams maybe like the Mets, who really have a lot of questions to answer here this offseason, because you can't have a year like you did this past year and then not make it to the postseason. The Mariners, and could even be the Red Sox, that have some packages that they could offer the Tigers. Number 4, will the Phillies reunite with their big 2 free agents? The Phillies are on a win now phase. and it's been like this for years, and it's been aggressive in the upfront. And this is the whole reason why you got JT Realmuto, Bryce Harper, Kyle Schwarber, Nick Castellanos. You wanted to win now with guys like Aaron Nola, and they've come short a lot of times. Very disappointing. So the question is do they give the roster a different look? You look at that recent success and overemphasize the tiny samples of the postseason. So it really shouldn't be shocking if they bring back what they have because they have talent. Or do they decide to try to go better, risking that they move forward? We're talking about Kyle Schwarber and Ranger Suarez, two free agents this year. You have the slugger and Kyle, and then at the front, in lefty Ranger Suarez. These two in 2025 teamed up for a WAR of 9.4, and what figures to be a tough NL East in 2026. You can't let the kind of value walk without plans to replace it. So, what are the plans for the Phillies to replace these two players? Even if you could maybe even capture one of them, can you find a way to capture another one? The Phillies, when you talk about National League postseason each and every year, the Dodgers are number one, the Phillies are number two, maybe the Atlanta Braves as well, Chicago Cubs. And the time is ticking as the Dodgers are going for a three-peat. Contracts are planning to expire the next couple years. And while you still can, are you capable of, getting that move? Now, does it come at a cost of you have to let one of these guys go? And if so, who? More so, can you just take the grunt hit if all you do this offseason is re-sign these two players, ensuring that, hey, the chemistry you guys have getting you to a postseason, it's getting over the beating the Dodgers. And if you could beat the Dodgers, it's let's get back to the World Series. Coming in at number 3, will the Yankees make a splash? We're interested if they bring back Cody Bellinger and Trent Grissom as the corner outfielders, or do they put some work in and some trust? Maybe they go after Kyle Tucker potentially, or do they just kind of fill in and see what Jason Dominguez and possibly Spencer Jones can do? They get back Garrett Cole in the rotation, which would help, and that rotation looks nice. The question is for the bullpen. Brian Cashman may need to dip into the free agent market a little bit for some saves. And I know even the question is could one of the rumors is could the Yankees be eyeballing Edwin Diaz and have him leap across town? The Yankees are a fierce team. And you kind of almost ask yourself, why aren't you winning with tough guys like Aaron Judge, and Carlos Stanton and whatnot? But, they're not a complete team. They obviously have struggles in the bullpen. They've had to dip into their rotation down in the minor leagues a few times. Then on top of that, you're trying to keep your outfield intact with keeping your lineup solid. I think Cody Bellinger is a Trent Grissom. I want to maybe bring back both of them. I'd bring back one of them. And I'd probably bring back, I couldn't even tell you who I would even consider bringing back because I don't know the numbers up front. But, with the guy, when you have a guy like Jason Dominguez out there, I stick with him, give Spencer Jones a couple extra years. If you are in the conversation, if you're being considered in the conversation of going after a guy like Kyle Tucker, I would be at least remnants not being able to throw out an offer or two at the manager of Kyle Tucker and see if the fish bites a little bit, because just because the Dodgers are in the conversation doesn't mean you guarantee them, right? I mean, I also know how hot it is to get in LA. You know, living out here in northern Kentucky, about 15 minutes away from Great American Ballpark, you know, I know it gets hot during the summer, but the question would be, do you want to play in New York or do you want to play in Los Angeles? And LA can get unbearable at times, outdoors, 100 plus degrees. As much as I would want to be a Dodger, go for a three-peat, that's what's on the table, right? You look at that for a second. Kyle Tucker has this decision. You could either go to the Yankees, hoping that you're the missing piece and that they'll re-sign a Cody Bellinger or a Trent Grissom, and with the Jason Dominguez, you kind of have something there in the outfield. You bring in your skill level, and you could help the Yankees get over that little hump. Same thing goes for a team like Philadelphia, who could be looking into it, or San Francisco, but San Francisco didn't make it to the postseason last year. You know, if I was Kyle Tucker, I got these options. I know I'm going to get paid. It's where do I want to win? And maybe it's a win with the Dodgers. Maybe it's a win with the Yankees. But you got to put yourself in the best shoes. And I think, yeah, at the end of the day, the Dodgers still have the best opportunity to win. Coming in at number two, will Bo Bichette be back in Toronto? And I found this one very interesting. Right-hander, deadline. Shane Bieber has exercised his player option and will return to Toronto in 2026, which is a huge relief for a team that looks to um, get back, and they got some unfinished business to take care of. The news now, I think, will remain at shortstop Bo Bichette. He enjoyed, but Bichette enjoyed an impressive bounce back season this year after nagging injuries, snap productivity in 2024. When healthy, he's one of the best hitting shortstops in all of baseball. Um, and the Jays need him back. I think it would be injustice for the Blue Jays not to fight and not to be the head breadwinner for Bo Bichette, to at least try to fight to bring him back. You know, with how Toronto's rising, how far they got to the World Series this year, and being a homegrown kid, it probably will not receive well with the fans of Toronto. Um, there appears to be a mutual interest in the reunion, so I guess we will look and see what will transpire. But I don't see, it's hard because I don't see Bichette being on any other team. And it's kind of, when you got a hometown team, it's all gonna dig into the pockets. Coming in at number one is gonna be the big question: how will the Dodgers reload for a three-peat bid this year? It's they're trying to be the Athletics, they're trying to be the Yankees and go for three in a row. I think they have all the talent they can. In doing so, um, they're very aggressive when it comes down to winning and getting to a World Series, especially. I'm sure this year is no other. The rotation seems to be in really good shape. You got Yamamoto, Blake Snell, Glass now, and Otani all built under contract, which is great. Um, with quality, multiple spots and depth, and spare. I don't have a problem with starting pitching. It's gonna probably, hey, how can you work on the bullpen? Because I know the bullpen needs some help. Um, and maybe I know they looked at the outfield corners. Maybe Kyle Tucker. I know there's in the conversation as a available free agent. Expect the Dodgers to linger around the big headline newses this year, and I think it's kind of dangerous because they're kind of the only team in the market. This free agency is not huge whatsoever. Um, I'm even thinking about, well, where can the Reds even, could they pick up a free agent? What do they do? and it's just there's not much out there to really do anything with. And when you have the Dodgers, you have the Yankees, Toronto's up there, Philadelphia's up there, San Francisco could do some bidding along with Chicago. Um, I feel like this is going to be a very controlled off season by a lot of team, by a handful of teams that are that have the money, that have the experience, and players do want to go with them to and have the position to win now. So there's a lot of questions that I think you could ask yourself heading into this off season. You know, you got the owner meetings, you got the GM meetings next month. Uh, you'll get some deals done early on, and it's just I think it's gonna. I don't think it's gonna be a domino effect, but I think it will. This year's off season, whether it's a trade, a free agent signing, will explain a lot where teams are at this coming up season. As off season continues here, we will pay close attention to those. Sure, we will have plenty of conversation as those stories develop. And when news breaks out, we'll definitely cut a lot of those options for uh, for as months to come. You know, it's interesting. I was just I'm kind of just on on sports websites and just coming in. I was just like, first base Pete Alonso opts out of his contract, makes him a free agent. Uh, which will be interesting. So free agency. Well, I think that's the next conversation we could take a look at is what does the Major League Baseball free agent look at here? But hey, listen, I want to just give a big shout out. Thank you to all those who are listening to us on our audio platforms, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Pandora, wherever you get our podcast. Thank you guys for tuning in. Be sure to check out our YouTube page at the TNC Sports Talk YouTube channel, where you can check out our franchise series in baseball, football, and WWE as we play the current season in progress. And be sure to like, share, and subscribe for more information as well. So that is all the time we have for us today in this episode. Until next time, you guys have a wonderful rest of your day. Take care. Bye.